What's up guys, I'm Shooting Dave and today we're going to be... Hang on. Today we're going to be talking about this image. I'm not sure if you can see that. This image. If you're new around here and you haven't seen my channel before, please do have a little look around, and if you like what you see, please do subscribe. Say you've got your camera, your light and your tripod, you're pumped and you're ready to shoot. But you've got to consider the type of car paint the car is, whether it's a gloss or a matte, whether it's solid or metallic. This will have a difference on the way you light and edit your cars. For example, bright versus dark cars. Bright cars require less light to actually show the body panels. Dark cars, they're going to absorb a lot more light, so you're going to need to pump up that volume of the light to get more shape into the car. Now matte cars, the reflections on those spread out nice and evenly over the body panels. Whereas glossy cars, like a black gloss, you're going to have to be working a lot harder to be more precise with where you place those highlights. So if you're just starting out in light painting and you're a beginner at this, the perfect car to start with is going to be a matte car. It's much more forgiving when it comes to lighting and easier to blend the exposures together when editing in Photoshop. So I'm going to use this car as an example of how you would light paint and edit a matte car in Photoshop. Now I spotted this car at Gap Bill. It grabbed my attention immediately and I knew I had to feature it for Gap Bill magazine. So what is Gap Bill? Gap Bill is Norwegian for street car. It is also a festival in Norway and sometimes Sweden, which is a massive motorsport festival with drift cars, extreme cars, show cars, and of course lots and lots of partying. So for any petrol heads watching and you're wondering what kind of car this is, well, it's a 1932 Ford. It's actually powered by a Volvo B23 engine with twin turbos and it's charge cooled. It's a pretty wild setup, running huge slick tyres, a side exit exhaust and a mounted radiator in the rear of the car. I just love this car, it looks totally wild and for me sums up the kind of builds you can expect to see at Gap Bill. So I'm going to show you guys how I edited this photo, but first I want to tell you about the equipment I used. I used a Canon 5D Mark III, which I'm recording on right now, a Canon 35mm f2, so it's slightly wide enough to be able to incorporate some of the environment with the shot as well. And I lit the car using this Camera Plus CP MTL2. Now this is an awesome light, it's super bright. It has this orange sleeve over the top which you can take off to change the light temperature between 3200 Kelvin and 5600 Kelvin, which is helpful if you're under white lights or street lights. Oh yeah, and one fun fact, I was actually surrounded by lots of drunk Norwegians and Swedish people whilst shooting this. Normally I'm on my own or with the owner, but this time I had a huge crowd, so pretty nerve-wracking while shooting. Okay, so we're going to jump into Photoshop and I'm going to show you the exposures that I used and how I use them. Come on. So we're in Lightroom right now and we're just going to have a quick look at the exposures that we're using. We have one for the background, we then have a couple for down the side, just different options, making sure that we got all the information we needed before moving around to do the front of the car, then the far side of the car, which is the opposite side to the camera, and then a couple of rim lights, so making sure we get all the information around the back of the car because we want to pull that car off the background. We also then moved on to the wheels, the rear wheel, which is far too bright in this exposure, so we dropped it down to the next one, and then one just to make sure we've got all the information that we need for the engine. So we took all these into Photoshop and I'll show you this now. So let's start from the very beginning. We worked with our background layer. Then we had our front, which this is the full exposure. You can see there's some unwanted information in the top right hand corner, which is not ideal, so we want to get rid of that. So we apply a mask just to brush out those areas. And you can see that I brush out quite a lot of the floor because we only really want it on the front of the car. The side exposure, this is what it looks like in its entirety. You can see that there's a slight artifact here. This is me actually passing and casting a shadow over the exposed areas. So we didn't want any of that, so we brushed that away. And then we've got the rim light, which is the rear of the car, front wheel, rear wheel, and then the engine. Now, because this is a matte car, normally what I would do is I'd go around and path out the vehicle. There's two reasons why I didn't. First of all, it's matte, so it's very forgiving. Second of all, I didn't actually have my Wacom tablet with me. So I had to do as much of this with the trackpad as possible. Now, if it was If I was doing that again today, I'd still probably use the Wacom tablet, and I'd still probably brush the card rather than pathing it out. It's only when it comes to high gloss cards that you want to be worried about where those highlight placements are, and you want to be super precise. And because the background wasn't that reflective or anything, the light spill from the different shots actually helped aid the background in some way. I could have included more of it, so more from the front to help open it up, but I felt having that too much information on the ground would actually start to detract away the car, and I'm using the darkness from the base exposure, and so it's like drawing you into the actual vehicle itself. From here we basically just took it back into Lightroom and made some adjustments just so we can pump up the contrast a little bit and make that car pop that little bit more. So here's the final product, and here's the before. Not a massive difference. We've really darkened down the sky, added a bit of blue into the shadows and a bit of yellow into the highlights, which is kind of the signature style that I do in all of my images. So that's it really, pretty simple, nice and quick. Matte cars are the perfect car to start with. You can be nice and loose with your editing, you don't really need to go to town, and they yield great results really quickly. I'm Shooting Dave, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.